that is for esports.
Yeah, exactly. And you and I have both, we know both of these players, but definitely have played many tournaments with Alexandr Fier because he's just always there. He's always playing, so active. And one thing that I know about him is you're guaranteed to get an exciting game. It just not many of his games end up as a draw. And one of the unique things about Alexandr Fier is he's a very quick player as well. He's kind of famous in the chess world for playing these games. And believe me, it doesn't matter if you're 1400, 2400, or even 2700. He will actually play the entire game and almost finish with more time than when he started. I've seen so many of his games that have been like that, and it's not just against weak players. So I'm curious to see if that, is going to be the way that he plays these games. But when he plays his long classical games, I've noticed him to be an incredibly fast player.
It's definitely true, and it doesn't matter who he's playing, and it doesn't always matter the position. It can be a sharp position. He trusts himself to play fast, and sometimes with logic, the more I think, the more unsure or more unclear my calculations are. He trusts his instincts, no matter who or what the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to, just to clarify, he's a very volatile player. He can beat anyone on a good day and pretty much lose to anyone on a good day, but certainly has the fighting spirit required to play a tournament like this.
Yep, absolutely. He's one of the players that, you probably wouldn't be too excited to play because you just know exactly that you just might get him on a really good day where he's playing fast and it feels like he's playing good and fast at the same time. So we mentioned most of the other grandmasters in the event are still not paired against one another. So this matchup that we have in front of us here is certainly the one to watch. I will mention that Alexandr Grishuk is playing a candidate master of 2200. So that one is also a game that, is not going to be an easy one.
No, I've played some candidate masters recently and didn't win every game. I've taken some hits. They're getting stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to be the first guy to suffer an upset.
That's right. Taking a look at this position here, one of the first things that I noticed about this is that Black might be interested in castling, but that move is just not possible. At least it does drop the h6 pawn if you short castle on the king side. And if you long castle, which actually I was wondering whether that was going to be played, it actually looks safer.
Yeah, it's an interesting position because the pawns are locked a bit on the queen side. So Black can probably consider queenside castling and not worry immediately about some pawn move that breaks everything open. And it's a type of position you've seen the dark square bishops get traded off. That's okay to do, even though it's a fianchetto, because Black has control over a lot of the dark squares here with the queenside structure. Queen is on e5. And the light square bishop on e6 does a good job of holding some key squares, and you notice White's pawns are on light squares. So definitely very playable from Fier here, and it remains to be seen which part of the board Hans is looking to press, because there's no pawn tension right now. There's no clear breakthrough. Now you can just try to go into an endgame, and sometimes the argument is in these endgames that the bishop on e6, b5 was just played, but the bishop on e6 is kind of biting on granite, pointing towards that pawn on b3, and whereas the knight can kind of hop around. I think we're seeing that right here where, Black's played b5, White's not going to take. Hey, if you want to take on a4, take on a4, leave yourself with double isolated c-pawns. I'm going to play knight e5, I'm going to double my rooks on the f-file. Simple plan, but it's effective, and a guy like Fier likes activity. So is he going to look for passive defense, rook h7, rook f8? Very unlikely. He is an active player. He likes to attack. And when you see players like that face challenges like knight e5 hitting f7, they try to find tactical solutions. Unfortunately, this is a very solid opening, the Rosalimo, and it doesn't make it easy. But when Fier is going backwards, usually, that is a good sign if you're playing against them.
Yeah, and the thing about rook e to f1 is I don't think there was ever a world where he was about to, he can't defend that pawn again. The g6 pawn is also weak. So I'm expecting something more like b takes a4, rook d4. And you start to get exactly what you're talking about, that sort of counterattack nature. Now, not 100% sure how it's going to turn out there, but that's just the kind of player that Fier is. He plays with no fear, and pawn takes a4, rook d4. I think that's his intention. And Hans is now second guessing. He's like, okay, hang on a sec. Maybe I should take this pawn on f7 first. He's trying to find the right way to play.
Yeah, he's calculating there's just two options here. Take on a4, take on f7. You have to anticipate these rook end games and figure it out. He's going to take on a4, and after rook d4, he might consider pawn to c4. It's probably not...